Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Costume Designers Guild Awards nominations. Already, there's some pretty big misses. Let's start with Best Contemporary Film Costume Design. We have the nominees American Fiction, May December, Naiad, Renfield, and Saltburn. I've seen some people surprised that Past Lives didn't get in, but I don't know. I'm not really that shocked. The costume design isn't really all that showy. I'm kind of surprised that Renfield was considered contemporary and not fantasy. So yeah, overall, I'm not really seeing much else. I'm thinking maybe Saltburn will win this, because of these nominees, it would most likely be a costume design nominee. But overall, costume design, contemporary film is not really consequential to the Oscars all that much, unless you're something like La La Land. So there is that. But now let's get into period film, which might be the most consequential. The nominees are Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Alright, for one, The Color Purple is out. The Color Purple's not in here. I don't know what's going on with The Color Purple, because sometimes it's here, sometimes it's not. It's doing really well at the box office, but for some reason it's not getting nominations. I don't know what's happening with The Color Purple. It's just kind of flying around. So do I even predict it for costume design? Which I don't know, because like Little Women didn't get nominated for any Costume Designers Guild Awards, despite the fact that it went on to win the Oscar. So it's like, what's happening with that? Like, then again, at the same time, I think with Little Women there was screener issues. There were screener issues with that, and I'm wondering if that's happening with The Color Purple. But then again, I don't know. I just don't know what's happening with that film. Napoleon made it in, which if it got into Critics' Choice and the Costume Designers Guild Awards, I'm putting Napoleon in. Like, I think Napoleon is going to get a nomination for costume design. Oppenheimer, I was not really expecting, because it's really just dudes in suits. And the fact that it got nominated here, I think shows an ungodly strength for Oppenheimer. Like, at this point, there is a chance it gets nominated for the Oscar, because people just love the movie that much. So I'm wondering if I should consider putting in Oppenheimer, but at the same time, there's a lot that is being put in. I mean, do I swap out The Color Purple? Because if The Color Purple couldn't even get nominated here, and unless it does turn out there were screener issues, if there are screener issues, then maybe I will say The Color Purple still gets nominated. But if there aren't any screener issues, then I'm probably going to say the Oscars are not going to nominate The Color Purple. And if it can't even get into costume design at the Oscars, then I think The Color Purple might not get into Best Picture. Like, it might get PGA, it might get SAG, or maybe it just won't. There is a good chance it could just not happen. It could just not happen at the Oscars. Also, Priscilla, not nominated for period film at the Costume Designers Guild Awards. That was another thing that people were saying could happen. They were saying that, Priscilla could happen, and that it would be its most likely Oscar nomination. I've always kind of said that I think its most likely nomination would be Kaylee Spaney, but I don't think that's happening. Ultimately, I think Priscilla is going to be goose-egged this season. I don't think it's going to get any Oscar nominations. This is looking like a pretty good indicator of what could happen, except for one, in which now we get to sci-fi fantasy film costume design, and the nominees are Barbie, Haunted Mansion, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, The Little Mermaid, and Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Right here, I think we could probably just pluck out Barbie and just put it into one of those period film nominations. The question is which one? Because if The Color Purple is really weak, like, we'll have to see, but right now it's not looking good for The Color Purple. Like, if there aren't any screener issues, it is concerning that something like Oppenheimer made it in over it. And it makes me wonder, is Oppenheimer just going to get nominated? Because you could just take Barbie and take out Maestro in period film, and then boom, you have your costume design nominees. Because, again, Oppenheimer is very, very strong. Hell, like, there's a good chance like, Oppenheimer, in terms of nominations, not wins, but in terms of nominations, it could very well be The Irishman, where it gets nominated for practically everything. I mean, obviously not visual effects, but I already called that. But, like, if Oppenheimer can actually get into costume design, and who knows, maybe even, like, a random, like, other supporting performance nomination. This is looking pretty good as to, what our competition is. So, yeah, no Priscilla nominated, no The Color Purple, and I do think there is a chance that The Color Purple could just miss, and we could just see Oppenheimer get a nomination for costume design. One could make the argument that, J. Robert Oppenheimer's outfit is very memorable. Him wearing that suit and that tie and that big hat. You could make the argument that that's a very memorable costume, but again, like, I think it would just overall show more love for the film itself. And Napoleon, again, I think it's you can't deny it. Also, I forgot to mention, for fantasy film, Wonka missed out. Wonka did not get nominated for sci-fi fantasy film costume design, which is a huge snub, because I was thinking there was maybe a chance it could happen. Like, I think it got nominated at the Critics' Choice Awards, but considering Wonka did not make any Oscar shortlists, not even for song or score, it's kind of looking like Wonka is just dead in the water. Like, they were banking on the idea that this film would be releasing late, and that people would love it, and people seem to really do like it. But it just seems like it's not, the industry's thing. They just don't really seem to like Wonka all that much. But the fact that Rebel Moon is starting to get these shortlists is kind of insane. Or very least, Rebel Moon is stronger within the guilds, or at least within the industry. But now I'm going to pass the question off to you. What do you think of the Costume Designers Guild nominations? Where do you think the costume design race is going in the Oscars? Who do you think gets nominated? Who do you think wins? Let me know your predictions in the comments below, and consider hitting that subscribe button, because if you don't, you're gonna wear a costume, whether you like it or not.